Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. As promised, we are here to discuss the worst books that I read in 2024. These are all primarily 2-star reads. I don't hand out a lot of 1 stars. I think I gave 2 or 3 books 1 stars. I feel really bad about doing it, so I don't typically do it unless it's like really bad book, you know? But a lot of these are 2 stars, and a lot of them I think that I can confidently recommend to certain people and other people. And I thought part of the fun of recommending books that I hated is also reading some 5-star reviews of these books that I hated. They didn't work for me for one reason or another, and I can't wait to get into it with you guys. Let's just jump in. We don't need disclaimers. You get it. You watched the best video already. You already know what's up. We're cool. It's cool. The first, 3 books, I am so scared to say on the internet that I didn't love, and say that they're worsts even for me. The first one we're going to start off with is... No. Let's reviews first. You know the drill. Okay. Yvonne said, 5 stars. I'm side-eyeing my Duolingo notification now. Since we're here, I'm at 660 days of Duolingo. Thank you. But yeah, side-eyeing Duolingo notifications now. And then I also have, please just read this. Wow, I have no words. Dark but poignant. I'm pretty sure this has self-solidified itself as one of my favorite books of all time. Bold words to say. And the last one, check this book out if you're into translation or languages, or dark stories with social messages. It's intense and powerful and really unsettling. Which, I do agree with the reviews. I think that a lot of people like this. There's a lot of fellow booktubers whom I trust and respect, who actually really like this. So, if it sounds interesting to you, I'm going to recommend you try it. It is horror. It has a really interesting twist, and it's all about translation. This woman from her boyfriend hears about this top secret organization, school setting that it's invitation only. You can only tell one other person, but he learned a language in a week or something absolutely crazy. So she's like, you know what? I want to do that too. And we get to see her go and learn the languages. Now, I have a giant fascination with languages. I love languages. I want to learn many throughout my life, if possible, if time is ever dedicated to it properly. I find that it's super fascinating and cool and interesting, and I really, really enjoy languages. With that said, this book did not deliver the conversations that I really wanted from it, what I hoped from it, and I can't explain why that is necessarily because I don't want to give the twist away. I don't want to spoil this book for anybody, obviously, but I just wanted it to go a little bit deeper into language learning and how it differs from different cultures and different people within the cultures. I just kind of wanted a little bit more depth from this whole story. Maybe if it was a little bit longer, I could have got that, but I found myself often bored throughout the story. I just didn't feel hooked to the character. I didn't really relate to her that much. I was not that interested in this really weird top secret school setting, which is interesting because I do like dark academia. I just, there's things that I liked about it, there's things that I really didn't like about it, but I mostly found myself bored. I don't think it's a terrible book. I don't think it's bad. I listened to the audiobook as well, so maybe the impact just wasn't quite there for me. I had to read a lot of reviews once it was done because I just felt like I was desiring more from the story after it finished, and I just kind of hoped for something a little bit different than we got. And so maybe that was my bad for going in with different expectations than what I was going to get out of it. That happens sometimes, so maybe that's it. But yeah, this one just did not work for me. The next one is another that I'm hesitant to say that I didn't like because a lot of people absolutely love this, and based off what was on my favorites, it's funny that this one didn't work for me as well. I wouldn't say that it's a bad book. I think that it is a good-ish entry point for a lot of horror readers. So let me read some 5-star reviews. Maddie says, this is gonna give away the whole book, so you'll know, but eyeball eating aside, I can't bring myself to blame Ji-won. Good for her. The next one says, to quote Britney Spears, now get to work, bitch. And the last one I have is Weird Girl Books with a strong slice of good for her mentality. This is insane in the best way possible. And yes. Once again, yes, I do agree. Obviously, the book in question is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. Yes, I have the spooky, scary Lumicrate Evernight edition, and it's a spooky book. I won't say it's not. It's short, and I loved May Fly. So I really thought this was going to be, an absolute win for me, but we're following a young girl. I think she's, just about like end of high school, beginning college, or just early in college. Yeah, college freshman. And she has a small, very small group of friends. She's kind of feels like an outcast. Her and her friends went different ways after high school for different colleges, and so she just kind of feels a bit lost. And her father leaves their family. It's her sister, and her mother. So once her mom starts dating this new man who is the worst, truly the worst type of man, who might have even an Asian fetish, is the villain of the story by far. He sucks. He's so bad. And then she, our main character, Jiwon, gets the desire, after being forced to eat some fish eyes, gets the taste for eyes a little bit and starts fascinating and obsessing over his blue eyes. He has like a dumb name too. I don't remember it. I don't think it matters. She just is obsessed with his blue eyes and wanting to eat his eyes. That's the premise. This is definitely like feminist horror. It's definitely got a lot of conversations about culture, and it has just a lot of conversations about being Asian and what it's like and the people that she is surrounded by. I don't think this is a bad book. I think for a debut, nicely written. It's short, gets to the point, it packs a punch. The twist wasn't like shocking, but it was satisfying, and I think that it was done well. And I think for a debut, like, there's a lot of room for this author to become even better, and I will probably pick up whatever they come out with next. I don't think this was like objectively bad or a bad time. I was just bored. I know. I think I also just, again, want a little bit more. A little more things to grip onto. I obviously can't relate to the character, but I can feel for her. Absolutely, I can put myself in her shoes through the story and feel the feminine rage just spill out of me towards this man. And I do get that. Although the imagery was content warning. Careful. If you're a little squeamish, it might be a little hard. I did enjoy the graphic imagery surrounding eyeballs. Freaky. I don't know what exactly it is I would have changed to this, but I just wish there was something a little bit more that I could have latched onto. I really wish that this worked for me more. I might give it a reread in the future just because almost all of my pals, my fellow booktubers, friends, just normal reviewers and readers, all really, really, really enjoyed this, and I'm like, maybe it was the time. Maybe like I didn't read at the right time and like something didn't work for me. I don't know. But yeah, this one didn't work for me. I'm sad about it still. The next one is one of is one that a lot of people also like. Another horror novella, and I read this one. Let me tell you. Queer Indigenous horror is the best genre. What a beautifully written novella in less than 110 pages. The talent. Highly recommend if you like horror and need therapy. Which, check. And then the next one says swampcore, but make it a journey about grief. Incredible. I learned, this sun is just really coming out today. I learned this year that I don't love grief stories all the time. And a lot of, if not most of the horror that I picked up this year was all grief back to back to back to back. And I was getting a little bit fed up with it. I was getting over it. I don't process grief like normal people, and it really is difficult. So I just was getting very bogged down with grief and was like over it. And this story is weird. It has great atmosphere. I think that the writing will work for a lot of people, but for whatever reason I was just not jiving with the writing. But I don't think it was bad. I just didn't work for me. I had such a hard time getting through this story. This is about a young girl who is going through like hardships with her girlfriend. I want to say that one of her parents died, and she's dealing with the grief of that. Trying to help her girlfriend sends her off to an art retreat, alone in like a small village with not a lot of things around it, and sends her on her merry way. And obviously that's giving more concern about the relationship and like where they're at if her girlfriend's just like ready to get rid of her for a while, keep living her life without her. So there's like a lot of layers, I think, in this. I think Tiffany Morris does a good job giving you a story in a short period of time. It does take place in a swamp, so swampcore is fitting. It's got a lot of like eco horror attached to it. I think that there were some nicely written horror scenes, but just overall it wasn't working for me. I can't tell if it was like the topic of grief at the time, or it was just like the time in which I picked it up. The writing style I don't think worked for me. I don't know exactly what it is, but something about it I was just like, I can't do it. But I've seen so many people love this book, so I definitely think that if it sounds interesting to you, it's very short. If you need a quick little read for a readathon, or if you're like trying to check off a goal, I think you should try it. And then you can tell me how wrong my opinions are. But let's jump on to the next one. Okay, Emma rated this 5-star, and she said, I didn't understand everything in this, but wow, I had 5-star favorite feeling. The characters were just enjoyable, and the ending, wow. The ending was wow, and I think that's all I can give this book. The next review says, Vampires, Heist, and King Arthur retelling. I loved this book so much. Reading this gave me the exact same feeling as reading Six of Crows again for the first time. I haven't read Six of Crows, so I don't have those mushy-gushy feelings. And if you haven't figured it out, it's A Tempest of Tea by Hafez Faisal, and I want to love this author so bad. I have her other one. I have We Hunt the Flames somewhere on my shelves, and I tried listening to the audiobook, and I was like, no, gotta physically read that book. And so I put it down, and I haven't picked it up since. And so I was like, ooh, a new book. I got it in my Fairly box. Hafez Faisal, everybody loves. I'm gonna give her a try. This book is absolutely stunning and gorgeous. And then I read it. I read it in like a sitting. I listened to the audiobook. I read this book. And I can tell you very little what happened. I was so uninterested in these characters. The promise of what the book was, with the like glitz and glams of vampires and having a tea room. Well, the tea room is irrelevant, like 5 chapters in. And then we go on a journey, and I don't think I like books with heists. So I've learned a lot about myself this year. And heists are one of those things that I'm not so sure about. I think I have 2 more books that I'm going to give heists a try in. I'm not swearing it off forever entirely, but it was a trend that happened a couple times in my reading year, and I was like, what does this mean? This is following, God, I wish I could tell you so much more, but I just have a gun. This is following a girl, but we get multiple POVs, and it's kind of like outcast group coming together, and is her name like Artie? I don't remember. They come together, they're gonna do this heist. There's vampires. I think that the cast themselves are stunning people. Like, I think the artwork has been incredible. I think that this had so much potential for like strong fandom, but I've seen a lot of people not enjoy this. But I've also heard that this author's second books in duologies are typically significantly better. So I'm hoping maybe when I pick up the second book, which I will be doing, I will like the second one more. This did have a nice ending. I thought that the ending, you know, the twist just kind of gets you on your toes and it makes you excited for the next one to come out. But it's also unfortunate that since reading this, I have completely forgotten the majority of the plot. Like, I have probably taken notes on it, but it's not something that I care to revisit right now. It's not something that, like, interested me. I was so against this. it just didn't work. I was really bummed about this one. So, I know. Another beautiful, stunning special edition that I just didn't like. Alright, moving on to the next 5-star reviews. We've got Denise, who said, I thought I knew. Holy drama. Holy plot twist. I couldn't put this one down. Def read the epilogue. Such a great thriller. Next one says, I love a good whodunit. I love having several characters who make you question your choices, and then learning that there's no way you could have figured out. Clever epilogue. I personally don't love when a thriller throws something out of nowhere, where like it's setting you up, you've got all these characters, you're like, oh, maybe it could be this or it could be that, and you're trying to figure things out along the way, and then like the very end you get to the plot twist and it's just like so out of pocket. You're like, how did you come to that conclusion? It's not satisfying for me, is what I'll say. And so the book in question was a book of the month. It's The Resort by Sarah Oakes. Now, I've seen some people enjoy this. I've seen more people not enjoy this, but I wanted to give it a try. I want to like thrillers more than I do. I do enjoy them, and I'm happy when I pick them up, and I like getting that suspense and thrill and like the excitement from it. Not all of them hit. I feel like it's definitely a genre that can be pretty hit or miss for me compared to others. The Resort is about a girl, 2 girls, 3 girls, 2 girls? It's multi-POV, sort of. But we've got a big cast of characters that have all come to this resort in Thailand. It's humid, it's hot, it's sweaty, and they're all working at this resort. They've all been travelers or tourists at some point, and they've kind of just ended up here. The girl that we're following primarily is, I want to say, like she gives surf instructions or lessons. So they all have something to do. It's kind of a bit found family. They're all coming together, they're friends. And our main character, she's got a past. She's got things about her that you don't know. And you're going to discover them with her, along with this travel influencer girl that comes along and maybe knows a little bit more than she's supposed to. And so I think the setup is good. I think that the atmosphere was cool. I think that we could have maybe done a little bit more with it, seen a little bit more of Thailand. God, the twist was so unsatisfying, and I was just annoyed the entire experience through this book. I didn't like a single one of these characters. I honestly was like, you could all drown. I'm so uninterested in this mystery. I'm uninterested in any of these characters. I don't need their backstory. I don't care about any romance. None of this worked for me. I was so awful. I read this for, I want to say like a readathon. Maybe it was Summerween, and I just, I couldn't with this. It was so bad. Yeah, no, this is one of those books that I have like a pretty hard stance of just being like, I don't recommend this one really, actually. I don't think people should really pick this one up. Obviously, if it sounds good to you, do it. But didn't work for me. I hated the ending. The epilogue made me revolt. I was so annoyed. Honestly, I think out of every book that I've read, this is maybe the most throwable across the room type of books when you finish it. Just like out of frustration, just chuck it. The Resort. That would have, yeah. Alright, next, we're gonna get into Holly's review. Christina Henry is a master of suspense. This book had me guessing until the very end. And then the next review I have is Creepy Old Houses, We Love You. I'm so happy that this worked for some people. I saw one review that was like, I'm a mom and I could relate to the mother-son relationship and dynamic, and I think that's great. I think if you can see yourself in this book, kudos to you. I was so bored. I did not understand the point. I was spending time with this book. I didn't understand why it existed. I was so ready. So we had Craig DeLuey, or whatever his name was. I didn't read that one, which was like how to film a horror movie and survive or something. And then we had Paul Tremblay's horror movie. Loved it. One of my favorite books. The House That Horror Built, which I thought was like in the same realm. Like I was like, all these books, these authors were cahooting in the background, and they were telling us like, we've got a theme. There's a trend. This was such a letdown. This is a COVID horror. So things are happening either right after the pandemic or during. We've got a poor mom who is trying to take care of her high school son who's forced to like grow up too soon because things are stressful. And they're getting evicted from their apartment. And so our mother protagonist is working as a maid, cleaner of houses for this director, I believe, and he's like big shot. Insert male director that's really popular and big right here. So the director has like this past with his wife and son and like traumatic, horrible things happening regarding them. Eventually, he's like, oh, fellow house cleaner who I don't really have a great relationship with, let me cross multiple boundaries that are making you uncomfortable, and I want to meet your son and, you know, stick him under my wing a little bit. And also I'm a germaphobe, but that really isn't relevant. I hated it. I could not stand these characters. I didn't get it. I was so bored. The direction that it was heading was so predictable. And this was before I knew the book that was being, and I'm not going to say it because it's a spoiler, but there's a specific book that they were like, if you liked this, then you'll like this type. No, it's like a retelling of this book, which is very popular in the horror thriller genre. If you guessed it, I'm sorry. It's just very overdone. The way that this was just a retelling of that, but like so bad. It was so bad. It was predictable. I was not surprised by anything. It was bad. It was a terrible time. I was furious. I did not enjoy this. I did not have a decent time. Nothing in it was redeemable for me. I didn't like the characters. I really am not, we're too close. I don't want COVID stories still. The like horror stuff, where was it? There was like this mask from one of his movies, and why didn't we do something cool? This was not nearly haunted house enough for me. There was nothing, and I wanted something. I'm not gonna spoil this author off because this is my first time reading Christina Henry. There are so many books that I want to get to, especially like the Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland retellings that are horror. Those sound wonderful, but oh my god, this was not fun. I didn't have a good time. The next one I'm also going to have a little rant about, so let's talk about it. Crystal gave this book 5 stars. Crystal Y says, I can't believe it's over. I have grown to love these characters so much, and I'm so sad to have finished it. Great last installment to A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I love Gray, Ren, and Harper so much. The next one says, this is a great conclusion. Were there any stakes? Not really. But to be honest, I don't care. No, we need to bring the standards back up. I have not talked about a lot of series in this video because that's not fair. But Oh my god, A Vow So Bold and Deadly is the worst conclusion I have ever read for a series in my entire life. So, the first book, A Curse so Dark and Lovely, I gave this like 3.5, 4 stars. It is a fun Beauty and the Beast retelling. This girl from like Chicago or somewhere falls through a little portal, slips into this like medieval fae realm, and she's like, what is going on? She's got cerebral palsy, so you've got really cool disability rep, which is so rare in books, especially fantasy. And she's like, these guys are kind of cool, but she gets taken captive, and then she has to make up a lie that she's like a princess from another realm so that they can get married, and like blah blah blah. A lot of politics and really cool world building. I was really fascinated with like the fae, and like it's just a fun trope. It's YA, it does what it needs to do. It was fun. And then you get the second book, and the couple that I shipped is not the end all be all couple, which is fine, but it felt like a little retcon-y to me to change things how they were going. And then by the third book, the characters' motivations were just completely forgotten. It was as if these characters just suddenly they all got concussions and have amnesia and like no longer remembered what their goals were, who these people were to them once upon a time, like had no idea of anything around them. Like, they were just brand new characters, and I couldn't stand any of it. The retcon of it all, just being like, actually, no, he does want this, and we've been lying to you this entire series, and now it's actually a big issue, and we're gonna fight about it. It's like, what do you mean? You were best friends, and you never wanted that. Why? Why would we do this? It makes me so mad. Can you tell? I'm fuming again. I listened to this audiobook at work, and I was so freaking mad that I instantly was like reading other reviews to be like, am I the crazy one here? Did I read the same series as everybody else? Because people that are giving this 5 stars, I understand that you like them, but honestly, we all know Gray and Harper should have been together. That one girl could have just left the whole series. She did not need to be there. And Ren could have had like a really fun like exit from the book, and like it could have worked out so well, but the direction of the story, like, I could have written it better. I'm so mad about it. Oh my god. Okay, let's move on. So this next book, I have done a full, like, deep dive into the plot, and so I've read it 3 times this year. I know, to read a 1-star book 3 times for a video does feel a little insane. But by the 3rd time that I read it, I was like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was the first time. And then I felt bad, like, roasting the video, but, like, I put so much work and effort into it. I was like, we're gonna do it. So let me tell you some 5-star reviews. There's not many. Gail said, this is interesting, very different fantasy story. A political Sleeping Beauty story. A cursed princess given away as a political pawn goes through culture shock with dire possibilities. That sums it up decently well. There's not a lot of 5-star reviews, which I think makes some sense. It's not like a super popular book either, though, but The Prisoner of Silk by Lydia Foxglove is a Marie Antoinette Sleeping Beauty mishmash retelling that is so wild. I've never read Marie Antoinette fanfic before, and that alone intrigued me and made me laugh. I got this for free from Stuff Your Kindle Day, and so I was like, love the cover, thought I'd pick it up. It's steamy. It's a lot of that, which is not my personal fave. We see, like, very little development in the characters. A lot of stuff happens off page. We're skipping a lot of time as we're going. And it's not, like, the worst thing I've ever read, but it was so weird to read Marie Antoinette fanfic and make it so steamy. It's weird to write any story of, like, a real person in steamy context, similar with like the Ministry of Time, like same weirdness going on there, but gosh, oh my gosh, this didn't work for me. It didn't work for me, and that's we don't really need to talk about it because I have a whole video on it. That's simply just far too long. I didn't like it. It made me really uncomfortable a lot of the times. It's got a lot of like toxic things, and it all comes down to like erotica versus romance and the rules that shouldn't be followed, and like the lack of consent needed in these types of stories because it's sometimes just implied or it's more romantic that way or whatever. Just it's a little questionable stuff. So we'll move on. Oh boy howdy. Okay, next one. Jennifer gave this book 5 stars and said, enjoying following the female main character and male main character as they figure their self and their relationship in this world. And then I have another 5-star review from Danielle that says, one of my favorite standalones I've read this year. Totally unexpected and couldn't put it down. Now, Danielle, I'm so glad you like this book because it's actually going to probably be a series based off context given. I know not everybody does like this book, and I know that me and Eliza, my bestie, ranted to each other about this book a whole lot, but Sanctuary of Shadows by Aurora Osher. This is, I think, going to be the first book in a series, but I guess it depends on if, like, it gets renewed for a second, because I don't think this one did well. This is a Red Tower release, and Red Tower are questionable. They released Fourth Wing, started with a bang. They love to give us special edition, first limited runs, which is why books, I think, are getting more expensive, because this is just now the norm, which I'm not complaining. I love special editions. I think they're beautiful. But this book was one of the last straws that I had about Red Tower. I haven't completely sworn them off, but I'm significantly more picky about which books I pick up and waiting to hear reviews, because this was so bad and so disappointing in every way possible. Now, I personally have a really difficult time reading stories that are following a steamy romance that is often a little bit insta-love, goes really hard, saying I love you way too soon. Those type of stories following a character who is baby, like, not literally, but, like, in this, we're following this girl who works at a circus, and I love circus books. That's one of my favorite settings for a story. I need more of them, and you barely see a circus in this, which is already the first flag. Like, disappointing, bad. She works in this carnival, and her ring leader, master guy, gets a wraith, and this wraith is sentient, but most of them aren't. And so he's, like, learning about the world and himself and trying to, like, regain memories, and it's kind of like an amnesia patient type thing. And our main character, she plucks him out of his cage, and they run away together. They fall in love, and they're steamy and banging all around, and I don't know, there's something about a character who doesn't know anything and has to, like, learn how the world works that makes me a little uncomfortable when it's, like, a fast insta-love steamy relationship. It just feels predatory in nature, and I don't really like it. It just it gives me the ick. And that's this story. And that part really took me out of the story, really bothered me. It made me really just not, I don't want to be with the couple. How do I say this nicely? I think that this author, who I do think is established, but I think does more on the erotica side of things, which I think is fine. Everybody can write and read whatever they want. I think that this author, though, knew how to write good smut scenes and did that, and then tried to put a book around it. The writing was bad. The writing was really bad. The characters were bad. The world building made no sense to me. I was very confused. I think the friend is a taxi, which is a cat person. There's something about elements in this book, and I simply couldn't tell you. Like, I read this book. I listened to the audiobook while I read this book. I didn't understand half of the things that were happening. I had no connection to the characters. I got major ick. This wasn't for me. And so when people were picking it up in, I want to say, May, for Escape the Readathon hosted by Books with Lexi, I was like, oh, best of luck with that one. And then they, like, walked away with, like, 3 stars. And I was like, sorry? I think we all have read the wrong... We haven't read the same book. I was very surprised that people gave it slightly better ratings than I thought they were going to. Because this really didn't work for me, and I really was, like, trying to set them up to be like, hey, just so you know, bad book. And other people were also saying that. It wasn't just me. Other people were like, caution going in, it's not going to be great. And then I think they were in the better expectation of being like, I know it's not going to be good, so maybe it seemed better than what people were saying. I don't know. This book was a hot mess. It was poorly written. I think Red Tower really needs to hire a lot of editors and, like, really take time developing their stories and not just pushing stuff out, because eventually readers are going to get sick of them and they're not going to exist anymore. Yeah, no, this one wasn't great. I really didn't like this. I don't recommend it. Sorry to anyone who loves this, but it was bad. And the final one, I don't know how I'm going to talk about this one. Izzy gave this book 5 stars and said, someone please talk to me about the ending. That is all. And then I have another review that says, this was a beautiful and emotional gothic fantasy. I loved the writing style. The main character had me hooked, and I loved the world that was created around her. It was really good. Was it really good? I could... No. Oh, it's so pretty. I know. Another special edition. We need to do a stats video someday of, like, my special editions, which ones are good, which ones are just awful, and then, like, favorites. Because the amount of pretty books in this stack makes me sad. So, Castle of the Curse by Romina Garber, author of Lobizona, which I really enjoyed. And then I was gonna read Cazadora, And then people were like, ooh, the series kind of goes a little bit downhill. It's not, like, as good as the first one. And then I kind of got, like, discouraged and scared to pick it up. So I didn't read it. But I did read Castle of the Curse. I listened to the audiobook before I got the special edition. I hate... Oh, this book was so bad. And then thank the Lord, thank the heavens that Melody read this. I have not had another person that I match so similarly on book taste than Melody. And she's not doing booktube right now. She's off doing, like, her ceramic job, which, great for her. But she was reading this, and I was like, girl, you gotta talk to me about this. And we just had a lovely chat about this awful book. It's so bad. This is following a young girl who her parents tragically die in, like, a subway, New York City subway train accident. And it's awful and terrible, and she's, like, she saw it or something, and then she's, like, gets sent to an aunt family member that she has never met before, never heard about, and is living in this gothic house all by her lonesome with people she doesn't know. And she's, like, mute at first, and she's really going through it. I do think at some point in the book, apparently, I don't remember that being said, but apparently at one point she turns 18, which just makes everything so much worse. She felt like she was 12, though, the whole book. And I think that's what really threw me off, because I missed the part where she turned 18 somewhere in the story, but she felt like a child the entire time. So once this turned to a steaming insta-love, moving way too fast relationship, I was like, somebody call the cops. This is not a safe place for a child. This child is told by her aunt that she's not allowed in certain rooms. It's got, like, that gothic feel of, like, a haunted house of, like, oh no, you can't go to those rooms, but also you need to be quiet, but also you're mute, so it's fine, and you're traumatized, but we're not going to send you to therapy. But then, like, weird supernatural stuff starts happening, and our young girl meets a boy, and she's, like, the only one who can see this boy, I suppose, but he's not a boy. He's ancient, and they fall in love, I guess. Oh, God. The sex scenes in this book made me incredibly uncomfortable. I have never experienced such a horrible time. I did not like this in the slightest. I don't think there was anything redeeming for me, which is so sad because I really wanted to like Romina Garber. This book, I was so excited for its release. I was like, yes, we're getting a new Romina Garber. This sounds great. This is supposed to be adult debut, but I think it's just fully been marketing as YA now because it's what it feels like, but it shouldn't be. It's marketing did this book dirty. I know that this book means so much to this author, and so I don't want to rag on it like too harsh. But I think it's too late for that, and I'm sorry, authors, don't watch my videos. No, it made me so uncomfortable. I hated everything about this. I think that you could argue that it has good gothic atmosphere. I think that you could argue that the first half is fine setup, but then it gets weird. And then, like, the twists and things just come out of nowhere. Like, you can't predict anything that's gonna happen in this book. There's no clues or hints to, like, lead you into directions. It simply just happens and you're, like, getting whiplash. It makes no sense. It's just bad. I had a really awful time with this. And it was really hard to read this by myself and not have somebody to talk to for a while until Melody read it. I was like, I understand the person that was like, somebody please talk to me about the ending, because it was definitely a journey. It's definitely a ride. This book is weird and I don't recommend it. But also, if you're reading worst books of the year, I hope that you have a blast roasting this. And if you like it, sorry, don't talk to me about it. I simply don't think I could hear somebody tell me with a straight face like this book is good, because I'm gonna question everything. And I don't want to be mean, but like, no, it's not. It was not a good time. Those were some of my really bad books that I just had obviously strong emotions towards. And did I articulate myself well at all? Probably not. It's just one of those things where it's like, I can't talk about books that I like because I like book. It's good. It excites me. It's interesting. I am so bad at articulating like why I enjoy things, but when it's something I don't like, I think that I'm saying so. I think that I'm telling you why I don't like something, and instead it's just me screaming and losing my breath and like making no sense, just completely incoherent, and I'm sorry for that, but I hope it's at least fun. Oh man, thank you so much for watching. I feel feral right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I'm so interested to know what some of your worst books of the year were, and if you made it to the end of the video, go ahead. I think there's a castle emoji. So if you made it to the end, you can put a little castle emoji or like something gothic if that doesn't exist. I'm not really great at emojis, but castle emoji if you made it to the end. Let me know what your worst book was. Here's to a great reading year for us all. 2025. Let's go. I think I've had 2 5-stars already. It's great. It's great. First book of the year was like 5-star, but I rated it 4.5, but like basically 5 stars. So that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more from me, feel free to subscribe. You can give this video a like to show engagement and help out my channel a little bit. And I will see you guys in the next video, which I think is going to be my either book awards for 2024 or the book survey tag. So I will see you then on Sunday. Bye!